Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Dice Cult for episode 189 of On the Backs of Gods. I'm your DM, Jillian, and we have our players here today. Same as always, we have Kyle, Matt, Katie, Josh, and Greg. I'll go ahead and jump into a quick little recap so we can get into things. Last session, the party deciding that time is of the essence, but sticking together is not, and the party splits. Keld, Nyx, and Roshan leave with Rose, who, after a couple mishaps, is able to teleport them to a pretty sizable chunk across the continent to the east, so that they can go have a conversation with Shelvadiro Breekid, who is an expert on planar travel and has written books about the many realms. And it's like one of those little ads on the side of your website that's like, doctors don't want you to know, but a Shelvadira's is, you know, big realm doesn't want you to know that the Baldican's real, and that's the conspiracy theories that
Big Idrisil is controlling the info lines.
that's what he's into, is spreading the information that he believes to be true. And you guys hop across the continent to go to Canusa and get your information from a little hidden sort of casino. And delivering a basket, you make your way over to Shelvadiro's place, which looks to be in disarray, where you meet a person whose body is now almost more wood and stone and construct than flesh and bone. And their face seems to be an older elven man's face, but part of it seems to have like moved and shifted and changed, an ethereal beauty to this portion of the face. Those three arrive there, while Nana and Fen remain in Jarlsbecker and begin trying to gather info on where maybe some of these cults and their bases are. There have been people going missing. It seems there's a lot of hunting happening. And there's one person in Jarlsbecker who's incredibly informed and seems to be in the loop when it comes to many a thing. And that would not be the man selling candy at Sweet Teeth. But it's always worth a shot. You never know who's part of the criminal underbelly or just loves hot goss. You never know. But with that, Nana and Fen, you exit Sweet Teeth. What's on the docket?
Well, I
Well,
hadn't
that
any further shopping.
is there anything else you need to purchase? Restock while we're here?
I mean, like I said, I'd rather restocked on most of my really needed essentials. Not very long ago. I'm probably okay. We can
Leave it.
probably head on to the Song and Siren.
Let's head that direction. I'm not sure there's anything else we're gonna gather here. I would have expected it to go better with a sweets dealer, but if he's got no information, I don't know who else might.
Well, if I mean, probably a tavern keeper, if I'm being honest, Fen. But
Well, I know,
I
that
mean,
was already
it
on
was
the
a good shot.
agenda.
It was a good shot. It was a good try. Let's head on and speak with the person who's deeply intimately connected with the richest and most powerful people on the continent, huh?
That'll work.
All right. You begin to make your way through Merriment Square to the Song and Siren. Uh, I am looking for your intent currently. Is your intent to just immediately go to the Song and Siren and sit there and hope for the best, or like maybe she's already there, or are you going to talk to somebody to try and acquire like where she is or summon her? Or are you waiting till one of her playtimes, which would be in the evening, and you would be waiting a large handful of hours to possibly see her? And it's a toss up. What's the thought?
I think being early to mid afternoon probably best to like go there and like if we see her, great. But like otherwise, like stop, order a drink at the bar, order some tapas, get a nice corner booth, um, and just kind of chill there for a second. We can talk to the bartender and see if there's any information we can get out of them about Goss, and then
Hmm.
uh, sit and see what we can overhear in the meantime.
Okay. You make your way to the Song and Siren. You do hear music, but not that of a harp. You can make your way inside. There is a woman with a bit of a like black bob haircut who welcomes you as you come in. You are able to, if so inclined, make your way into the lounge area of the inn. And there is a dwarven man that you recognize at the bar. Currently, not a lot of people at the
It's
lounge of the Song and Siren.
early afternoon. It's not exactly happy hour.
Yeah, there's a couple people here who looks like they came for food, but also there are less people in town to be at the Song and Siren. She seems to truly pop off once a year. But
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm.
but you're welcome to come in. As a reminder, everything here is incredibly overpriced,
Mm-hmm.
and you will be paying a large sum of money if you begin ordering food and drink. As
So
a
do we want to do
reminder.
both food and drink?
I was hoping to have a rolling whiskey
Sure.
just while we wait.
Yeah, no trouble with that. They'll probably have something light. I don't know. Whatever they've got.
If you are having two drinks, you can go ahead and just, we'll start off with a sweet 10 gold is where we are start now.
Yep, makes sense. Alrighty, 10 gold. Nana takes that from her personal purse, places that on the counter, and we've got our drinks. Were we wanting to acquire that corner booth or set up at the bar?
Um, Probably talk to the bartender, and seems like it'd be. Jillian, let me know if this is possible. Is there a place that we could get a booth that has a view out of the lounge into the reception area so we could see if people come and go? Like, this seems like early afternoon check-in time. Like, this would be like the time people would be checking in.
Go ahead and roll me a luck check for the angles of this, because that is a bit where the stage is set up.
Mm.
So if there is one that happens to be skirting around the side.
I got a 2.
Hell yeah. You could drag a
Hmm.
chair over next to the stage
Ooh.
and you'd
Ha!
have such a good view. You'd have an
You would also
amazing view
be
of the lobby.
very well seen.
You do have a pretty good view, to be fair, sitting at the bar. It's
Hmm.
the bar has a pretty good angle into the
Uh,
lobby.
well, if we
But
were
the
hoping to
booths
talk
and
to the barkeep
tables do
anyway,
not.
we could probably take an unobtrusive pair of seats on the bar. Not all the way down at the end. That seems a bit skeevy, but casual. And maybe hoping to catch up with the bartender about recent goings on in town, having been absent for a few days since the party.
He talks to you about the weather.
Yeah. Hmm.
That
It
is
is
Have,
mainly the
his
weather, huh?
that is his baseline.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
haven't been going very long. This place is nearly empty compared to a few weeks ago.
Mm.
What a difference
Well,
a few weeks makes.
a party will do that.
You often see any other large groups coming through outside of the time of year the party comes in?
Uh, Jarlsbecker's a pretty big city. A lot of
Hmm.
people come through, big groups. Not too weird.
Fair enough.
Yeah, crowds have disappeared after the party has ended, but heard rumors of other folks disappearing from homesteads around the area, off the road. There been anything like that here from locals? Anyone missing?
Anyone talking about maybe missing family members or friends?
I don't think more than the usual. Somebody's always up and gone, but no, you'd see an uptick in Jarlsman, I think, if people were missing from such a big city.
One would think, yeah. Wouldn't do for there not to be a suitable guard presence in order to safeguard the public.
Mm-hmm. Starts, kind of leans over, talks to somebody else, starts making their drink.
Sure. I'm not sure if he's going to be very much more help.
Yeah, I'm not sure. This is conversation, certainly not my strong suit. Just kind of
The way
hoping
I
Kel
see
would
it-
come with us for that reason.
It is what it is. As it is, I feel as though he doesn't have much reason to talk very much about sad news. Doesn't exactly bring in the patrons, and they're on the downswing for business, so.
We see what the entertainment is for the evening and see if Corian's scheduled to play tonight. If not, then perhaps make attempts to seek her out some other way.
Place a note, maybe. I know she was staying in this establishment during the party, or was she staying elsewhere?
When the party was at her home,
Of course. And she performs here, right. Well, I wouldn't count on us being able to get a letter in at her residence. Say perhaps just through the general post, and that might take a day or 2 or 3. I don't know. If you're...
I've left letters here at the reception. I'm sure for the proper price we can get a message through to her as urgently as we need. If there's not a way we're going to come across her by convenience.
Fair enough. Do they post the entertainment, or is that something that we ought to inquire about?
I've never seen it posted. We should probably just ask the barkeep.
I mean, probably try to catch the barkeep's eye then next time he's finished with a patron and in between
You glance
tasks.
at the barkeep who has been side-eyeing you the whole time as you talked at the bar. He is actively, like, you make eye contact for a split second when you're like, barkeep, oh.
Oh, hello, barkeep. Good, yes. We were wondering, who is going to be performing tonight? Who's the entertainment?
Oh, have you heard of Raspberry?
Have we heard of Raspberry? I don't know if that
You
was a
have
name
not
that came
heard of
across.
Raspberry.
No. Did not cross my attention. Were they at the party by chance? Or are they a new act?
They could have been. They are a newer act. A bit of a peppier sort of style that I think, maybe is on the upswing.
Like
Give small
ska?
artist a chance. Like a scar?
Ska.
I
don't think I've heard of that.
No, it's
Lots of checker print and horns. It's delightful, honestly.
Out of all the things I've allowed to be canon, I won't allow ska to be.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Out of all the shit that I've accidentally made canon, you will.
You can veto this one.
Ska is fake and not real.
Fair, I guess. At least in this world. We can't control reality.
There's somebody over in Skull City who's figuring it out, but they just need more time.
They need to figure out the syncopation with the drums and the horns. It's complicated.
They're close. They're like, I'm on to something. I don't know what yet, but I'm on to something. But yeah, this guy
Yeah.
hypes up the raspberries as best
Okay.
as he can.
Okay. Like, are they like a band? I'm guessing like many different instruments, and they just do selections.
Yeah, just
Mm.
talks about like a bunch of just strange pieces and sounds and noises all together. Maybe ska's real.
Maybe. Who knows?
Maybe,
I don't know.
maybe raspberry is ska, and
Who
that's
knows?
okay.
That's
That's
okay.
fine. Yeah,
Well,
you learn that
mm,
Corrine is at least not performing this
not
evening.
tonight. Yeah. Yeah. If she is at any other point in the week, that's probably a different question. But otherwise, it's definitely not tonight, which might be our only really actionable time frame to do something in, at least for the immediate moment. So
The
perhaps
clock
best
is
to try
ticking.
and place in a note, perhaps, which I don't know if we should place that with this in or perhaps with, the actual post.
Um, I'm not sure let's leave a note at the front desk. Maybe they can at least point us in the direction of someone who can give a sending. Um,
I mean, we've got the one in the ring, but I'd like to hang on to that for an emergency.
Fenn's gonna put a gold on the bar, finishes whiskey, and head to reception at the Song and Siren.
Nana will also set down a gold piece for the barkeep's time.
Okay. He gives you a nod and just 2 fingers down, pull
Mm.
those back.
All right.
Hi, how can I help you?
Hoping to send a message to reach Corrine in a not emergency, but a somewhat expedient fashion sometime by the evening. Is that possible here?
I would say, if you're asking for my opinion, the quickest way to send messages around the city and further is going to Midgard's messages.
All right.
How far are they from here?
She gives you a little
Mm.
rundown. It's not
Blip, blip, blip,
incredibly
blip.
far.
Cool. Very convenient. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you guys are vaguely familiar now with Midgard messages, as that's how Gunhild communicated with you after you guys left town without talking to her. So
Is
you at
why that
least
name sounded
know it works.
familiar. It does. We will not mention that we know Gunhild. I can't imagine that anybody associated with her is terribly well looked on at this office.
Yeah, I doubt they know her name anyways, so I think you're good.
Cool. Excellent. Yeah,
I
that
don't think
wouldn't.
she walked in like, "Hi,
Yeah,
I'm Gunhild. I'd
no.
like to send a message today.
Nah.
Here's my money and my social
No.
security card." Uh,
Yeah, that doesn't seem very Gunhild of her.
you make your way through Merriment Square, go off the path a bit, and there is a small, very straightforward, I dare say bland building that says Midgard's messages above the door.
Easy enough. Shall we?
Not sure what choice we have at this point, but yes, let us.
All right. Onwards we go to speak to the postmaster general or the sender in general or whomsoever will see us.
You enter and it's like a door and then a wall of booths is what it looks like.
Hmm.
Closed with curtains, and you can see that there's like a little flag that hangs out of each curtain. A couple of them are red, the rest of them are green.
I would assume the red ones mean don't come in here, so I suppose we shall head towards a green flagged one.
I wonder about privacy provided by an establishment such as this.
How do you mean?
Oh, I don't know. I think maybe just wondering if these messages can be heard or seen by anyone else.
I mean, it's a public publicly accessible venue. I don't know how secure they bother making it. I don't know. We can't probably assume too much, so I wouldn't add too many details.
All right.
I would just maybe impress, like you said, matter of urgency. And I hope to be able to discuss recent developments around town.
You watch one of the green flags wave a little bit,
Yeah, let's head in.
kind of
I
like
think-
you're at the Home Goods and they say like
Mhm.
register too. It's
Is
that
now
energy.
available. We will serve you here.
You both can easily fit in. You don't think a third person could actively, comfortably squeeze in with you.
Would have made it a little awkward with Keld here.
There's a young man who sits like on the opposite side of like a bit of a window. You think it would be not too hard to wreck this person's shit, but like at least a little complicated is how much division is given. Like you couldn't swing a sword in here, but you know,
No.
you could probably
Like,
throw
reach
a
a
fist if you
hand
tried
through
really
and, like,
hard.
punch.
Yeah, you could still get him.
You could wiggle a fist in and then just punch at him. If you really
But there
needed to.
is a young man with a smile on his face, hair pushed back behind his ears. Hi there, my name's Dallas. How can I help you?
Hello, Dallas. We are hoping to send a message.
Of course. And he has like a little pad of paper. All right. Who am I sending this message to?
Corrine of Jarlsbecker.
You watch his face immediately go from this customer service smile to like a tinge of discomfort. Uh, are you familiar with the recipient? I'd hate to bother Ms. Corrine.
We are acquainted.
This gentleman was Miss Corinne's accompaniment at the party a few days ago, last week.
Fen, go ahead and roll persuasion. I'll give you advantage because Nana's giving
Backing you
backup.
Well, one of those dice is going to have to wait till later.
Mm.
I'm
16.
still missing a dice. It's gone somewhere.
Tea.
Okay. Okay, how about we start here and if I'm unsure, I hope you won't mind if I bring a manager in, but how about we just proceed with what the message is, and then I think we can go from there. As a reminder, it is 25 words. It is 30 gold for one message. And then you can have more messages, but it increases by another 30 each time.
I have enough for one.
Well, hopefully what you have to say can fit in 25 words or less.
Well, I
What do
do
we
know
have
that
in
we
mind?
were given like the bag of holding, so if we gotta go get more money by pawning off some jewelry, we can do that. Or gems or
Dallas,
something.
wait a minute. We have to go pawn off the jewelry in our
God.
bag to make
Yeah,
a phone
right.
call.
Yeah, right. Jesus. Let's hope not. Let's fit it in
All right,
25
so
here.
what's this message?
Never mind. We'll just head up to her house. It's no problem.
Well, if you think that is an easier option, then by golly, I hope you both have a wonderful day.
We might call upon you later, but I appreciate it. Thank you. You too,
Of
Dallas.
course. Have a good evening. Big smile.
Thank you.
You guys walk out.
Sure about that?
I'm sure that I don't want more than just one person involved if he decides upon his own that he doesn't think that we need or deserve to send a message to the person that we pay to. We'll just use the ring.
That seems imprudent to me. But if that seems to be the easiest way for us to proceed, then fine.
I just don't think we need to do more to announce our presence here than we already have, particularly when we're missing over half of us.
I don't disagree. I think that keeping things low profile is advisable, and involving more than a few people in our business is not ideal. It's fine.
So
Let's go.
be involving Corrine at this point to reach her, rather than Corrine, a messenger, their manager, and potentially
whoever else they
Yes.
decide they need to contact in place of her. Yes, I know. Let's get it on with then.
All right.
So what are you doing?
We're going to use the sending that's in the ring.
Nana will give Fen the ring for that.
Okay. What do you say?
Corrine, we're back in town temporarily. Need to speak about a matter of some urgency. Please contact us this evening, if possible, at the Hard Fiddle.
At the hard ends.
Yeah.
Hopefully she'll know what you mean.
Contact me at the hard.
And we don't have another sending, so that's all you get.
Ben. Oh, that won't be necessary. Come to my home. I'll see you soon.
She's just invited us to her home.
Lovely. Let's go then.
Be all right.
Sure.
Okay.
Let's head back up to the
You guys
beautiful estate.
Make circles around Merriman Square and eventually end up at the large gates in front of the even larger, beautiful home of Corrine. Meanwhile, people standing also in front of a large home, maybe not as pristine, is Keld, Nyx, and Roshan standing before Shelvadiro Breekid, who is currently has this like constructed limbs and like kind of like bodysuit attached to them, making them like large and bulky in appearance. Come in then, and they turn and begin making their way into the home.
Roshan will share an unsure glance with the siblings and then follow him in.
Let's go.
I'll follow you.
Mm-hmm. You have to go before me. You have the basket. It's very
Oh,
important.
that's right.
All three of you walk inside. Shelvadiro calls back. If you could be so kind, please close and lock the door.
I got it. I'll do it.
You turn around and lock the many heavy and like thick metal locks on this door.
Yeah, I'll catch up in a moment, guys.
You takes a second, but you're able to do it. The interior is dark and the corners are dusty and the place is unkempt and there is the slight smell of mildew in the air. At one point, the style and energy of this place may have been luxurious, but now presents as aged, worn, tired. You can see that there are different ropes and grips that are placed strategically throughout the home. There are some near a stairway. It seems that almost every wall that is not like mostly an exterior wall has some sort of grip on it. As you make your way through, please make yourself comfortable, and motions to a sitting room. Would you like some tea?
Please.
And Artie starts walking in like a different direction.
I'll set the basket down on a table I assume is there.
Yeah, you set it down on like a little coffee table. There are very nice looking couches and chairs, but look a bit untouched. There is one chair though that you see has been structurally enforced, that has been made into a much stronger chair than it once was.
So we'll go for the nice unused couches.
Yeah.
Right? Right?
Yeah.
And Roshan will take a sitting chair.
Okay, so you guys are currently sitting in this room. You can hear the gentle like clank of somebody in a kitchen and the kind of heavy creak of footsteps. Is there anything you guys do while you have a moment by yourselves?
I think Roshan wants to survey the room,
Mhm.
see if there's. I think he's specifically interested in Shelvadiro's book, as well as any other that Shelvadiro might have come across.
Give
And
me whatever you want.
that's a 12 perception.
There are books. You can see that there is a very nice bookshelf in this room, and also a very nice pile of books all over the floor. And not a lot of these books look incredibly like touched. And from this distance, none of the titles are standing out to you per se.
Yeah.
As like, these are the good books. These are maybe display books. They could be useful, but nothing stands out to you at the jump.
Then I think he'll sit patiently and awkwardly quiet.
Anyone else?
I think Nyx is just looking at what's right in front of her, just being nosy. But in the
Mhm.
spot she's supposed to be in, because we're told to sit down. So like anything on this coffee table is being looked at.
There looks to be a geometric glass box on the coffee table, and it looks like there is something akin to dried fruits and petals inside. Perhaps it's a little snack. I don't know why everybody look it like that.
Just contemplating eating it, you know? Is this a snack for the guests? I don't know. So it's like
I
the
don't know,
candy bowl that you leave out for everybody?
Yeah, it's in the sitting room where you were told to sit.
Hmm.
So yes, Cal, do you think those are for us?
Can I sniff them?
Smells good.
It smells edible.
Yeah,
I
it
think
smells like
Roshan would
dried
say,
fruit and petals.
that's just to make the room smell good. It probably tastes like garbage.
I'm going to try one.
Yeah, Nyx is already reaching in for one.
Are you guys aiming for like a piece of dried like fruit or a handful of petals? What's your vibe?
You can have the fruit. I'll grab petals.
Cool.
You know? Could be worse. You've eaten worse.
Like range of Cal's
Hmm.
cooking to Nyx's tea, you know?
Yeah, it's see, the thing is it's hard to say because it definitely reminds you of food. It reminds you of the word edible. Uh
Hmm.
it is technically edible.
It's not poisoning you actively.
I don't know if that was a
Probably.
snack.
I'll grab another petal just to check.
Yeah,
Might be a
you're like, maybe
wax
I got a
fruit
bad one.
situation.
You're
It might be a
like,
wax fruit situation where it's like it's decorative, but it looks so good you can't tell. So you taste it and it's like, I'm not sure about the texture.
I was really hoping they were going to be Turkish delights.
sorry. Turkish delights, also not canon.
Mm.
Today's the day I put my fucking foot down.
Nothing's
Wow.
canon.
The fucking day. No ska, no Turkish delights. Turkey, not real. Don't come in here. As you
Neither
pick
the
up
You
country
another
nor the
described
bird.
pedal,
them. You described them perfectly.
you described Turkish delights, petals and dried fruit.
Yeah,
That's
what
what
this
it
is
tastes
called,
like.
right?
True. Maybe it's also real. Yeah, you guys got me again. You go and grab another petal and put it in your mouth. Could I get you something to eat? I honestly don't have much, but I'm sure I could scrounge up something. And they set a tray down with tea and cups. It's violet with dried berries. I prefer sweet tea. But do you need something to snack on?
Oh, we actually brought you something.
I think at the same time as they say that, Roshan says, "They're fine."
Well, one moment. And Shelvedero makes their way around and goes to the worn, reinforced chair and begins to detach themselves from this bulky exoskeleton that they are currently wearing. And it seems that there are pieces beneath it that are not exactly attached to the exoskeleton. It seems to be like a reinforced layer. You can see that Shelvedero is missing one portion of the leg at the calf and one leg entirely. Both of these missing limbs are replaced with what looks like it's very simple. There's not a lot of decoration to it, but it looks to be like very high quality wood and stone brought together to fill in these places where the body no longer exists. You can also see that the prosthetic that takes up the entirety of the missing leg also moves up the side of the flank and holds on there as well, connecting to a full arm prosthetic. On the other side, there is a couple different sized finger prosthetics. There's one entirely missing pinky, and then almost like a slope of missing fingers and the prosthetics that are attached to them on top. Everybody besides Kel, just because everybody else is very observant visually in a non-emotional way.
Yeah, I can't get a read on this guy's emotions.
Yeah, this is not an emotions-based thing. This is a what you see with your eyeballs based thing. So Nyx and Roshan, you can see that the exoskeleton and the prosthetics don't exactly match the base of where they attach to the body, right? Like it seems to be like where the calf, the one that starts at the calf, that prosthetic, the base that it attaches to against the existing flesh looks like it's made out of something else. It does not look as simple and casually polished and straightforward. It is something wood and stone adjacent, but it does not read the same. After stepping out of the exoskeleton, Shelvedero leans forward and very carefully begins pouring everyone a cup of violet tea. Now that he is up close, you can see that their eye, their dark eye that does not have the broken pupil, the sclera is yellow tinted. It seems that their skin also has kind of an unwell yellow hue to it deep in the undertone, except in that one portion like the skin is smooth and ethereal and taut. One side looks aged and gaunt, and the other one radiates a beautiful ethereal beauty. The skin is smooth. The eye with the broken pupil is blue and bright and striking. You can see that there's also this horn that has begun forming on that side of the head behind the ear that is longer and more pointed than the one on the other side of the head. The horn at the base looks maybe elk, to be honest. It looks like something from nature, an animal you've already experienced. But it's as if it stopped filling in, and the piece that continues past also does not extend fully into the shape of an elk horn, but almost looks clear like crystal. Like the color never bled into that place. And bunched up in the hairline is what looks like horn velvet. So, what can I do for such eager youths? And sits down on this chair and picks up their tea.
Well, my friends were doing some research at the library, and a very helpful librarian brought them your book, and it is both a comfort and unnerving at the same time, because it's a subject that we would like to know more about so that we may protect people. So we were wondering if we could ask you some questions about your work.
I see. And you watch as they pull a flask out from the cushion of the chair and begin to pour it into their tea, and looks at Nix and Kel. So you two read my book?
No, I'm banned from the library.
Oh, good for you.
And no, I just got it secondhand.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? So your friends who read this book are not here, and your second-hand fans.
Yes, you've got it right.
Well, it's hard to ask for critique then. And takes like a sip from the new and improved drink.
Well, one of the things I was going to ask, if it's not terribly rude, is if you had a copy of your book that I might have. I'd happily pay you for it, but I think having our own copy would prove useful.
Of course, why not? Honestly, I'm shocked that they kept my book in the library. I kept bringing it in, it would disappear, and then you bring another one, and so on and so forth. But the fact that one of those librarians offered it up is, honestly, I wanted to say flattering, but now I'm unsure. Of course, I can get you a copy.
Well, I don't know whether it sways you in one way or another, but I think it's just a hunch, but I think the librarian who brought the book to my friend may have been divinely inspired. Just a thought. Does he make a sound of disgust?
He makes a sound of contempt, confusion.
Okay.
Honestly, I think if any gods were going to be inspired by me, my first thought would not have been Snotra, but who am I to say? And like raises the cup up, like, all right, Snotra.
Sorry, I wrote down these questions at some point, but now I can't find them. Oh, here it is.
Not
Roshan
flipping through a
shuffles
book.
rapidly
reading
through.
it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh
It's in
no.
here somewhere.
Does Shelvediro hand Roshan a book?
No.
Okay. Then Roshan will open up his book where he has notes, and so he can begin to take more notes and say, so you are of the opinion that the Baldecan already happened, correct? Could it happen again? Could someone do any more damage?
Well, not to correct you, I do not think this is an opinion I hold. You have to do a bit of flowery language to get into any library on the continent. I do not believe it is an opinion, I believe it to be fact. The world tree fell during the Baltic. During the end of days, the tree broke, the realms fell atop each other and scattered about, and there, of course, is a base remaining. I am sure that the world tree exists in some degree, but I would not go as far as to call it a tree. So do I think a second Baldecan could occur? In my opinion, no. Because there is nothing to Baldecan, as it were.
Is it possible that someone could connect to, I think you've called it Suppelheim. Is it possible that somebody could connect our realm and theirs, perhaps channel energy with destructive might? We're trying to understand the motives behind someone who would like the world casted barren.
Well. Interesting. So, there is already bleed over. Imagine, if you will, this has always been a complex one to describe, but I found, I think, the simplest way to do it. And reaches over to the table and like grabs at a silk, like a small silk covering, and just begins to pull that bitch right off the table. And like Keld, you just like instinctually like grab the glass box and the basket and prevent them from falling. And then he takes the top off of the basket, this piece of fabric, and looks inside. Ooh, exciting. I hope is as well. You can see that there are snacks and fruits, and it seems a lot of things leaning into hygiene are also in there. There's also a jar of, it looks like some type of dried herb, not ground up yet. Anybody is welcome to do a nature check if they'd like, seeing the herbs, as he reaches forward, picks up the basket, and like sets it down on the ground.
17.
Dirty 20.
11.
Okay.
Kel's distracted.
For Keld had to grab a bunch of shit from falling on the floor. Nyx and Roshan, in this quick moment of getting to see it, you think that this plant is to do with pain relief. That is a first thought that comes to your mind, is like a list of plants in this category related to pain relief as the basket is set down. Yes. So you watch as he lays the silk over one hand and then the linen of the basket on the other. Suppelheim and Midgard exist as the same and yet so very distant. But As you can see, these are two different types of fabrics, correct? And he goes and he like threads his fingers through so that the two fabrics sort of like push into each other, and like you can see the indent of the prosthetic fingers pushing against the linen and then pushing against the silk on the other side. They are touching in many, many pinpoints across the continent. Suppelheim and Midgard are intertwined and separate, mirrored and yet completely different. It would be very easy, in my opinion, to take something from Suppelheim and bring it here, as that is already actively happening. A very good example of that is the Forest of Eden. That is a place where a lot of Suppelheim has begun to bleed through, and that's why the things there seem strange, yet there is not an influx of corruption, right? So it is its own thing. That's why it is so different, is because it is a different realm having influence on a portion of our realm. So honestly, to draw from Suppelheim is probably easy in a destructive way. I mean, you see what the forest is currently doing.
Destruction is definitely the goal, so.
Interesting.
Now, this may be a tangent, but what is your opinion on the forest? It seems that the king has been employing workers to quell its growth, and it's apparently pushing beyond its boundaries.
So, either that is a direct relation to what the people assume to be the influx of corruption that has begun to make its way over into the east, or there is a larger influence from Suppelheim, and it could be both. Suppelheim is not a thing of corruption. They're shockingly, and yet so incredibly right, I suppose. There is no corruption in the other realms. Just here. Lucky us. So it is possible that there has been a larger influence from Suppelheim that may be leading to the forest growth. Do I have an opinion on that? I don't. I think people are going to do whatever it takes to survive, and the forest is near inhospitable, and there are towns quite close and a large city quite close, and they are going to do what they can to fight it back. I have no opinion on it. I think they should fight for their lives.
And how is it that you were able to travel there?
Oh, just in general, are you looking for like a step-by-step thing, or is it more of like a what I did to prepare myself physically and mentally? Which vein?
In
He's
more
the sheet.
general terms, I'm not sure that it will be necessary, but it may be useful to know, just in case we need to use it to we need to use that knowledge to prevent someone from doing something great, or to follow them and make sure that they stop. I don't know, but clarity could prove useful.
Now, if you're able to teach me how to do it, I think I could do it.
Oh, so it is a calling, isn't it? There's something in people who feel that they can connect to the realms in this way. There are, of course, people who think that and certainly cannot, but I don't know you, so I will trust your opinion of yourself. To be fair, and maybe to give you some hope, or not. If there are individuals that are traveling into the other realms, they will more than likely die. So that may be settled for you.
A small issue with that. The man we would like to prevent from accessing the power of Suppelheim, very likely cannot die, and Jord will not let them.
Well,
My friend saw him ostensibly stab himself from his neck to his crown, and we think he's still out there. And if he can't kill himself, then I'm afraid that Suppelheim may not be able to do it either.
I think, and this is incredibly valid, as your only experience is truly Midgard. The gods' influences in these other realms are quite varied. I am no expert on Jord, but when I think of the gods, Suppelheim does not really come to mind for me. So it is very likely that death would consume them there, and they would become something truly beautiful, I'm sure, as most of the things there are.
Do things transform there upon death as they do here?
Of course. When I say that these realms are without corruption, they have their own variant of things. It is not the same, but there is change. There's always change.
That makes sense. And then I think aside to Nix and Keld, Roshan just says, maybe he'd be easier to deal with on the other side. Would you mind telling us how we might be able to get there, or follow them if they choose to run?
Well, I feel incredibly terrible about sending you to your deaths, but that is your choice, and I don't know you. So I am sure that I would never know, because why would you contact me again? And I could assume you dead or otherwise. Do I have issue giving you information on how to get to the realms? And he looks the group over. Right, I don't give a shit. And then finishes their glass. Right. Of course, sure. I'll inform you how to get there. Why not? And smiles, and you watch as the lips that are pulled taunted up twist even further as just the other side has a gentle smile. And that is where we're going to take our break for today. How about you guys go get a snack and a drink, and we will see you guys in 10 minutes.
Thank you, 10.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Dice Cult. We just took our 10-minute break. The party is split. Two on their way to go see Corrine, friend of the party who throws party, to see if information can be gathered. And the rest of the team is currently speaking to Shelvediro, a traveler and self-proclaimed knower of things about the realms. Currently seems happy to talk, providing information, and has agreed to tell you how to do planar travel. Because honestly, they said because they don't know you. They're like, you're probably gonna go die at some point, and you know, that can't be on me. I'm not taking that. Y'all are grown. You can do whatever you want. But at this point, Shelvediro agrees. Anything else? And then just pours straight flask into the cup and no more tea.
I did have one more question regarding the I saw you had runic protections both on the path and on your fence, and I was wondering what they were meant to do. I didn't have time to stop and inspect them, and didn't know if you'd want me to.
Roll persuasion.
That is a 17.
Shelvediro looks at you and seems to be thinking for a moment, and also taking this time to drink. Those runes do not prevent planar travel. They protect against particular entities, those being those of Fey lineage. And it is not a barring, it is a marker. So that if somebody of Fey origin were to walk past the runes, they would be it would be obvious that they were of this lineage.
Good to know. I only mention it because there is the man we are trying to stop has grown his own special tree in many of the major cities across this continent. We know that he uses them for certain as a sure means of transportation. I believe he is very accomplished in nature magic and uses them to stride between. And we're worried that there is more. Unfortunately, he's shown himself to be more of a boon to the people in cities who can't see his what he does outside of them. And the last city that had one of these trees felled was attacked by his creatures. Is there... you wouldn't happen to know any magic that would sever his connection to them, prevent him from using them in some way? It's a long shot, I know, but I thought I'd ask.
I mean, if it's the point of these trees are travel, then Josh, can you mute yourself for me? Thank you. If you believe the point of these trees are for travel, I suppose that makes sense, though even the larger cities do have trees in them that are not barred from travel. So
That's
I'm not sure what that would help. You can see that they're thinking. They're like going up into the mind palace.
yeah, Roshan says that's what I'm worried about as well, because he gifted these trees to these cities as some kind of gesture of goodwill, and then his people broke one down, felled it one morning, and that city was attacked by the creatures that his cultists helped to create. So I'm not sure why they're in each of these cities. I know he can use them for transportation, but I think they're for something more, something different that we just haven't put together yet.
Is your questions about the possibility of a second Baldekin, or all of these things, same person, same intent?
Yes. He has been doing research on the Baldekin and gathering large numbers, or well, very powerful magic items. Um, the only one, well, the only item that we know of for sure is the tuning fork, which wasn't, could have been enchanted, but I'm not sure it was. But the other item we know came from a magic item dealer who had crafted it specifically. And unfortunately, there are just too many unknowns to make an educated guess, but perhaps you could help fill in any of the gaps we've missed.
Well, I can't speak for motive or intent. I just have to use context clues. And maybe I'm in a worse and or better position not having as many details. But if you're fearing another Baldekin, you've just told me where the trees are.
So you're suggesting that he might collapse those trees and bring those cities with to Suppelheim.
Perhaps. Or bring death in some way. That is the translation, the death of the world tree. And the tree exploded.
Well, that is very concerning.
Hmm.
So I return to my previous question. Do you know any way that we could prevent them from being used toward his means to cut them off from Suppelheim? And I'm worried the answer is no, so you don't have to sugarcoat it.
I just don't see why one would need Suppelheim to do this. Can I think of a way to block planar travel? Yes, there are many ways, though it takes time.
Well,
Takes
what do you
time.
mean you don't see
Hmm.
why they need Suppelheim? How would you do it?
Well, perhaps Suppelheim is a power source, as most things are. Everything has energy. So perhaps Suppelheim is a source for energy to create the explosion. That's the thing. the collapse, the death, however these trees are being utilized. And I can think of ways to bring death and ruin without that. But maybe I'm not thinking creatively enough. You would have to somehow connect all of these trees, connect them to something powerful enough to trigger a big enough reaction for whatever outcome you are interested in. And who's to say if the trees are really even, important, or if they're just, tombstones of old, a message. And it's just little runes drawn on the ground and you can't see them. That would be my assumption. I do not understand where Suppelheim comes into this exactly, but if you believe it is involved, I think if this person continues to interfere with Suppelheim, Suppelheim will interfere with them at one point, and I feel silly for it. There are living things in all of the realms. There are things that exist in all of these places. Example being in Ruvenheim, the giants exist there. The Jotun bloodline exists there. There are elementals of frost, and every realm has their own entity. And I thought, seeing the strange creatures that were in Soppelheim, that was their gift. That I had found and named something, and that that was not the case. There are very sentient, intelligent beings in Suppelheim. They are just not in the area I was exploring. The area I was in is referred to as the Wilds. And they don't do much traveling there unless, the intent to explore. But if there are people bothering Suppelheim, they're going to have more interference than a harsh environment.
And because we know only what you've told us about these beings in Suppelheim, is there any chance that one of them could be using the moniker of Fjord to foment destruction and bring our realm to theirs?
Now, how interesting. The inhabitants of Suppelheim, a very small amount, at least that I know of, have come over to Midgard and exist here. They acclimate, they parade as Midgardians, even though they are not. And sometimes you can tell after a while of. Anyways, it is possible that something in another realm can reach out, claiming to be one thing, and communicate with somebody in Midgard. And that thing could be a god. That thing could be a fae of extraordinary power, which exists in Suppelheim. I would say that if you are dealing with the sentient beings of Suppelheim, I would insist as a kindness that you do not involve yourselves with them.
I think that is obvious advice, and advice that I hope I never have to follow, because I never come into contact with it, but thank you for sharing.
Of course, if if you want me to pontificate on more, I certainly shall. But once again, don't take these musings as gospel. This is just me making guesses. I just know that the baldachin is the destruction of a tree, and you have told me there are trees. I could be very incorrect.
Well, even if you are, I believe our chat has been enlightening. And I'd love to come back sometime and learn more from you if you wouldn't mind sharing. But I think we've taken up plenty of your time today. If you would deign to show us what means you've used to get there, then I don't think we could ask more of your time.
Well, so quick to drink my tea and leave. They set their glass down. It is going to take time to address how to use this magic. So, how about you get quite comfortable? And they lean over and pull what looks like candied nuts out of the basket. And do not share any of them. And absolutely just eat them. Meanwhile, Nana and Fen, you stand at the guarded entrance of the gate to Corrine's estate. The two guards look at you and then begin to open the gate.
Well, I mean, I suppose we will just go ahead on in.
We've been here before. Give the guards a polite nod, and make our way up the trail.
Okay. You begin to make your way up the snowy trail. There are the shrubs and statues still covered in snow, not made bare and green, visible and green like they were at the party, now left to their natural state. And you see the door to the home open, and a woman with blonde hair in a red dress, actively donning a fur coat, makes her way down the steps, and looks over to you both, gives like a gentle wave, and veers a bit off the main path, and looks like she's heading to like a small sitting area outside. That you see that a fire has already been lit in like this little metal pit, and there are seats, little stone benches, and she goes and sits at one.
I think we'll follow. Oh, go ahead.
Definitely.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Nana, go
no.
ahead.
Quite all right. I mean, definitely following along, but as we are approaching, Nana just sort of wants to size up Kareen. Just sort of look her over and see what she can glean of her to the best of her current abilities. She's going to tap into her Know Your Enemy class feature.
Okay, you're going to have to pick something then.
I know that I will be allowed to pick 2 of the following characteristics.
Sure.
Da 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 da. I would like to get Kareen's total class levels and her constitution score, please.
I would ask you to pick a different first one.
Okay.
As a kindness to you.
Okay. In that case, let's do dexterity score.
Okay. And is it in comparison to you, or is it just I blatantly say a number at you?
I can learn certain information about its capabilities compared to my own. The
There you
DM
go.
tells me if the creature is my equal, is superior, or is inferior in regard to 2 of these characteristics.
Okay. It's going to take you a minute of observing her. I will say
Yeah.
approaching on the path does not count as that. So once you are sitting, you will be able to
Okay.
start gleaning.
All right.
Both of you approach. Please have a seat, get comfortable. And you watch her like she has this like little smile on her face, and you watch it falter immediately. Fen, are you okay? And she's looking at your hand.
Yeah, Fen probably looks a little rough. I mean, he's still wearing the studded leather armor that was basically for the
Mhm.
party, but there's a bunch of pearls missing from it now, and he's missing a hand, and uh, I think he probably actually has a streak of gray in his hair, like just
That
from the
wouldn't be
stress of
shocking.
everything.
That wouldn't be
Uh,
shocking.
I am still here. We're It's lovely to see you. I hate to bother you with this. We're just, I think, running up against some time constraints on what we're trying to accomplish. But
Oh,
I'm still in
of course.
most of me is still in one piece.
Still plenty capable.
Of course. Fen, please let me know if there's anything I can do to help in that regard.
We we spoke before about what we're trying to accomplish. Stopping the guard, Bosch, from accomplishing his goals. I'm sure you know at least as much as we do based on all the places that you have ears and eyes. We're afraid that a little bit of detour that we needed to make might have cost us valuable time in accomplishing that. We've heard rumors that people are disappearing from the countryside, and we have what I think is good reason to fear that there might be another attack, commensurate or in excess of what we saw in what was the which of the 2 very similar town names?
The names are so different, I don't remember.
Mhm.
But you can say on the coast and I'll know what you're talking about.
Yep.
On the coast.
Thank you.
And there might be any number of places that a similar or attack in excess of that might come. We have reason to believe that Bosch is sick and weak and desperate physically, but more motivated than ever.
She puts up a finger and is like quiet for a moment. Nana, during this time, what's your constitution?
My constitution at present is 16.
Hers is lower than yours. What's your dexterity?
My dexterity is presently 17.
Hers is lower than yours.
Thank you.
And I think this is the only way also to be fair. Some people in this world are not straightforward levels. So that is why I will veer you from that when I don't consider somebody like a level 12 ranger, things like that. So,
Yeah.
so I'm like, I'll just
She does.
I don't want to be
stuff.
esoteric at you about
Yeah. Vibes.
yeah. She vibes like a this. I don't know. But
She's giving, bard.
bard adjacent. levels.
Hiring.
You see she has her finger up, and you watch the door open to the front of the house, and there is a young woman holding a box who quickly makes her way down and over. You recognize her as she also brought you a box of goodies to take from when you dealt with a rat problem on her property. This seems to be an assistant of sorts. Comes over with this box and sets it on the bench next to Corrine, opens it, and she begins to like go through while Corrine sits next to her. I'll give you as much information as I can. My couriers have been having issues on the road between, and she like leans and like looks over at the woman who is pulling out papers like rapid fire skimming, like is going so fast. And hands something to Corrine. Right. We've been having some issues with losing couriers between Hoyerben and White Ridge. Hmm.
How
Yes.
long is that stretch, if I may ask?
Oh, it's a sizable stretch. There are no major cities or towns in between. It is a solid stretch of road.
Wilderness? Forested or is it plains mostly?
Not very much. You could go off-roading a bit, and I'm sure you could get lost in a forest, but no, we've
Not
had
much.
a courier who was killed on that route recently, so we've been redirecting our current trade routes.
Were you able to learn
That's terrible.
what the cause of death was?
When I say that this person is dead, you can only hope, right?
Mm.
That's my assumption. We do have trackers that we put on a lot of our products. And you watch her turn her head again towards the young woman who is just frantically
Oh,
pulling through
God.
these papers at
Holy shit.
rapid speeds. Um,
Who needs a computer when you've got this assistant? She's so good.
The last place that the tracker went off, because after a period of inactivity, they shut themselves off. It is southeast of Horrorben off the main road. I could point it out on a map.
I'm sure we've
tracker-
got a map we can provide.
Yeah, she's happy to point it out to you, which I will do later. Seems the tracker moved a few times and then recently stopped. So it is possible that the item is still in that location. That would be the best bet. It is also where a lot of other disappearances have taken place. It's just a stretch that's a bit too long for there to be eyes on every corner by Jarlsman and what have you. We considered also engaging because it is our product that is being targeted, at least in this instance. We do not think we are the main target, as it seems more than our couriers have been targeted. But we decided against engaging as we're a bit thin at the moment and cannot fight a war, as it were, on more than one front. So we decided to take the loss on the items. The last time the tracker went off was 3 days ago.
So it's reasonable to think that it has not been moved because its enchantment would have triggered had it been moved, in all likelihood? Or will it just have gone completely inert?
It depends on if this group of thieves or what have you are able to locate it and can figure out how to use it, or get the courier to show them how to use it. Or if it does stay still for 24 hours and is not jostled in an alarming way, it can stay inactive and then will not restart. So it is possible that these items have found their final resting place.
Couple of questions, if you don't mind. Your
course.
couriers, individuals traveling alone, or any sort of armed guard with them? Do they have a retinue?
It depends on what is being transported. This courier was by themselves, which shows that the items were not in need of heavily guarding. So there was only one person involved with that, to the best of my knowledge. They could have hired someone, but I did not hire somebody to transport with them.
Another question. What other front are you fighting a war on?
Oh, you know. And she takes a glance downwards.
All right.
Things have changed quite a bit in that regard, but I do think that in the end, it is still going to work out as intended. It just was a bit of a different path.
Are you safe?
I think I am quite all right. I think I'm in a good spot.
I'm glad to hear that in that respect. I must impress upon you, I do not believe anyone to be safe from what we are fighting. And if there are any bits of resources that you can pull from whatever front you can, I hate to ask it, but I must. We've lost time. We've lost resources. Ben kind of glances down at his stump, in something that needed to be dealt with in order to save something greater. But I don't know.
Oh, after I don't know, you kind of like paused. We lost you for half a second.
Fen said, I don't know what else we can do to make up the time.
Okay. Corrine looks at you. Go ahead and just roll me persuasion. This isn't exactly like a straight pass or fail scenario, but
14.
okay. She thinks a moment. Fen, you were truly very kind to me. And I believe that you would have been kind to me even if I were pampering you or otherwise. And sometimes that she straightens up and like fixes her furs. I am grateful for our time together. I truly am. And if you are interested, I could walk you over right now and get you to Hoyer Ben the next 10 minutes. You've caught me on the bit of an edge of me being available and of much use. but I can get you to that town right now. If time is of the essence, I can get you there today. I
Time is
cannot
of the
do this
essence.
tomorrow.
We must then also communicate with the rest of our party. They are not aware of us making plans to leave town just yet, but if this is an opportune moment, then we should not waste it. But I would appreciate it if there is someone who might be able to take a message, send one to our fellows who are following up another lead.
Have you been to Midgard's messages?
Indeed. We can certainly make use of them if we did not want to keep you waiting any longer than necessary, was our only concern.
My concern, and Fenn's going to make hard eye contact with Corrine, was who we could trust to handle a message.
I suppose if you give me a message, I could send it.
And what was the name, out of character, what was the name of the town?
Hoyerben.
Uh,
H
There we go.
O with the dash through it.
Mm.
Yrebben. Oh, with the
Hoyerben.
dash. um,
Yeah.
Sometimes I just think the dash looks neat. No,
I don't disagree, dude.
Sometimes it's
But-
just cool. But
I
she
just think they're neat.
stands up. If you either you can, I suppose, verbally tell me something and I will try to relay it as best I can, or you can write something down.
I have difficulty writing at the moment. Keep it very simple. You remember our friend Keld?
I do, yes.
Send him the message. Nonna and Fen, Hoyerben. Should be easy enough. I think they can make sense of it.
All right. Are you ready to go then? And she like fixes her coat.
I mean, I don't know if we brought along any weapons,
the-
armor.
We have the bag of holding. Fen's carrying
Yeah.
all of his stuff.
You
Okay,
guys left
yeah,
your stuff
that
at
would
the
make sense.
inn?
Nah, that'd be dumb. That'd be dumb. You're right. We
All
adventurers.
my armor and
That's
weapons are
silly.
at the
Oh,
inn.
no, I left it in my room. Oh my god. No, I'm fine. Yeah, I mean,
I'm sorry
that
we have to
case.
be so quick about it, but
Mm.
I usually like to assist as straightforward as I can and not have it linger, as it were. And I have a chance to actually help. So, follow me. We go on a bit of a walk. And she will start making her way down the path, the click of her heels as she moves forward.
yeah. I mean, I suppose we will proceed
Walk with
on
her.
after her. Yeah.
Okay.
While Nana's been observing this conversation, could I roll for some insight on Corrine's vibes with regards to Fen? Does she seem to be dealing straight with him?
Sure. Go ahead and roll insight.
You
Mm,
probably have some battle master maneuvers that could add to that, no?
could do. You're not wrong. Yeah. Yeah, I think I will actually. I do have it today. I am gonna add my Battle Master's commanding presence, which gives me what's that, a D10 added? Yes, a D10. Don't get to roll D10s often enough. Oh, nice. Very good, very good. Yes. So in total then, yeah, that's gonna be 23.
This is something you've learned after a few encounters with Corrine. And you have to take into account in a prudent way.
Yes.
If you were projecting onto Corrine at any point, and that is
Mhm.
something that you will never really be able to assess, and is just something that you have to keep in mind as a variable, that based on your feelings, you could have been projecting onto Corrine's feelings, or, viewing things through a different lens.
Hmm.
Corrine has also always been very hard to really read into as a socialite, as a person who is in the public eye, as a
That's her bread
person
and
who
butter.
deals in nefarious deeds.
Got to keep
This
that
is
poker
her
face.
thing. She has a very straightforward, very strong poker face that you think has been so seamlessly put into her real and manifested emotions. You think that both are almost, it's so trained that they are one and the same 99.9% of the time, is your guesstimation. And based on something she did, I'm going to roll one more time for a different situation for her. Okay. Throughout this encounter, you were not able to get much. Was she genuine? Was she putting on a face? You do not know. You believe it was a genuine reaction when she saw Fen was injured.
Okay. Okay. That did not seem feigned. That did not seem forced. It seemed authentic.
If it was,
It was
she
superbly done.
seamlessly put on a different mask, which is a very big possibility. But she switched. It was different. And you don't know if it was because it was real or not. But it was different.
Okay. It was either genuine or she knows well enough to manifest that as a change that it comes across as seamless.
Yeah, it
Okay.
is one or the other because it did not line up with the rest of how she presents herself.
Got it. Okay.
And you two make your way forward, following Corrine, who walks you into the area around Merriment Square and takes you to a small, pretty nondescript building that has a little sign on it that says pens and charcoals, and goes inside, and it is a pens and charcoal shop. Shock and awe.
Ooh, surprise.
Rows and rows
Guess the please.
of quills, containers of charcoals, papers, inkwells, what have
Writing
you.
stuff.
You want to write? Here's the place to get your stuff. You'd be shocked to know that nobody else is here besides the young goblin woman that mans the front desk.
Can't believe it's not a more happening spot, man.
Yeah, people seem to not be, or once you get a quill, I guess you're good for a while. Seems
A
to be
while
most
at
people's
least, yeah.
stance. You make your
Don't
way
gotta be going out
forward.
every weekend.
Corrine just kind of quickly moves to the front desk. Hi, I'm here to pick up my order to Perryton Feather Quills, shipped from Hoyerben. Oh, of course. And a young woman sort of hops off of the stool that she's sitting on. And she says, "Oh, right this way." And she pulls back a curtain and leads all of you into the back with her, to which she takes you to a heavily reinforced door that she unlocks with a key that she has on her person and steps inside. You enter a room with concentric runic circles drawn on the ground, and you watch this young goblin woman goes over to the wall and begins to pull levers, and you watch as the runes twist and spin and move into different configurations based on the way she is pulling the levers. And then she goes and steps over to what looks like a little horn that protrudes from the wall, and she like stands on toes to talk into it. 2 from Jarlsbecker. And she plops back down. And she stands there and then smiles at you. Corrine looks to you both. My sincerest apologies that I won't be able to bring you back this way, but I can certainly get you there.
If nothing else, I'm certain we'll be able to reconvene with one of our allies tomorrow. They should be able to find us wherever we are.
My apologies for not having more time to spend. I appreciate your assistance. Maybe one day soon we'll find the time. I apologize for being so rushed. Thank you, Corey.
She looks to you and smiles. I'm sorry for rushing you. Goodbye, Fen.
Hope to see you soon.
She nods and takes a step back away from the circle, allowing both of you to fully step in. And the goblin woman kind of like leans forward. She's like, ground your feet. Ground yourself centered. Good.
All right. Nana does as told, centers her center of gravity and gets her knees unlocked and is not going to pass out.
I think it takes Fen a second. I think Fen is usually sort of like up on the balls of his feet, like not like tiptoes, but like I think
No,
it's just the kind of
ready to move.
like in a ready to move kind of stealthy sort of way that he walks. Like so it actually takes Fen thinking about it for a second.
Planting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Corrine stays and looks at you, Fen, until you are blinded by white light as you feel your body just being shunted through time and space as you are jettisoned across the continent, landing with a bit of a stumble, but you steadied yourselves into a room that looks incredibly similar. A young human man opens the door. Right, come on through. And you can see 2 people with 2 heavy crossbows at hand, kind of like are over shoulder. And then kind of you see them back down as they take
Okay.
note that it is 2 people from Jarlsbecker. And you are able to walk in, you are led out, and you are in a new town. Meanwhile, also in a new town, the rest of you sit with Shelvadiro, who has now taken to eating the snacks from the basket, has looked through and comes across a candied currant scenario and like sets that on the table and like pushes it across and is like, I don't want these. So you are able to get snacks if you are so inclined. Right. See, the thing is, I can talk you through this all day, but it all really depends on how well you can connect, you know? Let's see. So first you're going to need to acquire a tuning fork, and you can't just honestly go buy a tuning fork. That will not be adequate. It needs to be of high quality metals. It needs to be pristine. It's usually better if it is newer or it is some sort of antique. The in-between usually does not work, depending. You can't really cheap out on this. I've seen what happens. Gnarly, incredible. They would not accept that book at the library, I'll tell you that much. So it is easier when transporting oneself through the plains to go to realms that actively overlap with Midgard. So Suppelheim is a relatively easier realm to connect to, different to as if you wanted to go to Muselheim. That would be much harder and you would die. So, you know, if you were able to, congratulations. And then once again, as I said, then you would die after you arrived. So hopefully that's not where you need to go. And if it is, honestly, you have nothing to worry about. And your problems are solved near immediately. So the best way to use this fork is you need to tune it to the frequency of the realm you need to transport yourself to. This is doable in a couple ways. The easiest way is to find those places where they lace over each other, where Suppleheim is pushing through. And the best place is the Forest of Eden. There are other places, of course, where each realm has influence, but there are places of power, places where they're more prominent. The same for Ruvenheim is thinnest in the valley, and Hell and Muselheim are incredibly close, but on the scale are further than the other two are from each other. You understand. I can show you where there are other bleed overs, but if you are looking for the strongest, most direct contact, Forest of Eden is best for Suppleheim. Now, what I find best is once you have entered one of these spaces, you produce the tuning fork, and you must strike it with as much force as you can muster. Usually I prefer to do some sort of thunder conjuring to strike it as intensely as I can, to pick up the frequency in this area where Suppleheim has influence. You can also figure out your own way of doing this. I just certainly do not have the strength to strike it as hard as thunder could. Also, if you were able to encounter entities with strong lineage from these realms, they also can help with a tuning, but that is honestly much harder to accomplish, depending. But, and if the realms do not overlap, tuning to them is quite difficult. And then he does not elaborate further on that. When it comes to the realms, I advise preparing as much as possible. Like for Suppleheim, I make sure that I am knowledgeable of the area that I am entering into, because the wilds are a direct mirror of Midgard. And then the hospitable cities are on the outskirts. It's sort of like a pancake, and the syrup gets squished out of the bottom. What's under it is the wilds. What gets squished out is the populated cities. Don't go to those. Unnecessary. I'm not sure what's wrong with them, but there is something wrong with them. I would advise being knowledgeable in survival, in traveling in nature, in dealing with animals, especially because you will not recognize any of these. So you will have to use instinct a lot of the time and try to compare it to something you do recognize. Suppleheim is good in the sense of it is familiar territory to an extent, and also not incredibly unhospitable. My greatest warning to you is that you spend as little time as possible in Suppleheim. And if you stay there for too long, and this isn't like a couple hours or even a day or two, if you truly spend too long in Suppleheim, it will change you. And I'm not sure what happens after that. And this blue eye is just fixed on you. So I advise trying to acclimate yourself to your surroundings. And in case you do have to go to the other realms, usually, this helps with Suppleheim, going to the areas with the large bleed over is a good way to begin acclimating yourself. So if you are familiar with the Forest of Eden, you have a good look into what Suppleheim may provide, even though that is a very, very intense sort of put together instead of being spread across a, a continent, a world. For Ruvenheim, when I went there, I scaled Odin beforehand and would do intervals of removing my cloak and sitting in the cold as long as I could, and then putting it back on, trying to acclimate myself with the cold.
I think Roshan sees him kind of losing himself and was going to ask more about his time in the valley, but decides to change the subject and says, about that book, do you have any extra copies here, or is there a bookstore in town that might sell them?
Oh, they're not going to sell my books in town. I'm not much appreciated in town, and I wasn't before this, and kind of like motions to themselves. So they're not going to have my books in their library.
So where might I get a copy for myself? I'd love to delve deeper.
All of you follow me. You watch as they stand up and kind of find their balance and then begin to make their way to the stairs and use a lot of the handholds to adequately move themselves through the space.
I think as they're moving, Roshan will ask, are you amenable to having company again? It would be good to know if we could share knowledge sometime, perhaps. We don't have any plans currently to go to Suppleheim or any of the other places, but I appreciate your knowledge and always look for people who are interested in sharing their knowledge.
I will certainly dwell on that. And it's just like heaving themselves up the stairs.
Well, then we will not show up unannounced. Are there any souvenirs you're looking for from these other realms?
Oh, I'd feel terrible if you died looking for things for me.
So then whatever I find will be good.
And note, some things do change when you bring them back. Always fun to see.
Fascinating.
So sometimes it's hard to make a little, a little museum of it.
Now, just a thought, perhaps not for this visit, but what do you know of the lands that lie beyond our shores? Do they have similar connections to Soppelheim or any of the other places?
See, now this is something I've considered because traveling via the water, once again, death, but also traveling through the realms, death. So really, both ways are terribly dangerous, and I'd almost think it's safer to risk the waters and just be bashed against the rocks and die that way. But there's also the issue when you enter into a realm using a tuning fork. The fork stays where you put it. So that is the only way in and out for you. You can bring a second fork with you, though I've heard strange things can happen if you have two forks and they kind of line up the wrong way, and you know.
Yeah, well, I've met someone in my travels who did not travel by water, but used a great amount of hot air to ferry himself across the waves, and I think he would really appreciate meeting you. He's a traveler like yourself. Um, if you
How
want me to, I can give him your name, um, but I'm sure you'd have great stories to share.
that is something I will also dwell upon, though they sound very interesting.
Thank you again for all of your time today.
Of course, I love company. And gets to the landing and takes you down the hall. The rest of the home is in as much disarray. There is at one point, a couple times, or you think you can see a bit of sunlight coming through spaces in the roof. But they lead you into a room and they like stop at the door. Now, don't touch anything. All right.
We'll give
God.
a nod. I don't
I'm
think
so glad we don't have Gorbjorn with us on the.
Okay. And also, if you could, if you are for some reason prone to bring me up in conversation, I would prefer if this aspect was not shared. Perfect.
of course.
They open the door and you enter a room of what at first glance looks like beautiful, flowing, multicolored silks that seem to some extend from the ceiling and move to the ground, some intertwining, some lacing between each other, some off in their own corner. This is an as accurate as I can make it diorama map of the realms. And walks in, leading you forward, and you can see that it almost looks like pieces of silk, almost like hologram silk that has like different markers on different places of these silks. So you can see here and begins to point out like, this is Suppleheim. This is where Suppleheim exists. These are the areas that lie outside of being crushed under Midgard, so people were able to prosper, and it is not the mirror. And everybody besides Keld, you can see that there is movement on these maps. Feel free to look around, ask questions, don't touch.
Roshan will just start jotting down as many notes as he can about this place. This, I hate to be crass, but this is a wet dream for Roshan.
Welcome to my very cool diorama room.
Hell yeah, brother.
Diorama.
I just wanted to see a cool diorama today, and boy, howdy
That
did
sweet,
I.
You
sweet
guys see?
infographic.
And you can see that like Muselheim is over by itself and seems to be the least informed of all of them. You do not actively see one for Asgard. Well, please observe, ask questions, enjoy. and people are able to make perception or investigation checks or what have you that may lead to thoughts or insight. But if you have questions of your own, you're welcome to ask them.
I think Nyx would ask, what's moving? There's things moving.
There are some things, as one can tune to a realm, you can also tune to entities, to places, to things, if you are so inclined, if you are capable. And there are a few things that I was able to tune enough to get their vague movings. You have to be familiar enough. Can't run up to a stranger. You must at least observe for some time. And you can see that there seems to be some, you watch movements across the board. Anybody roll anything in particular or have another question?
I don't have any specific questions, but Roshan would happily do Arcana or Investigation.
Yeah, this is just for perceiving.
Sure.
So perception or insight, or not insight. You can do insight if you want to, and I'll figure something out. But investigation.
Okay. That is only a 17.
I got
You are the
20.
two kids cat.
I got 24 for perception.
So do you want to roll something?
Roll to perceive.
Eyeballs.
11.
I feel like your last one was an 11 too.
Eyes, the
Feeling
lies of eyes.
consistent.
Roll out to the deep blue sea.
The places that you see, which makes sense, the ones that have the most information on them and have the most movement on them are Suppelheim and Ruvenheim, which is the combination of the realm of ice and the realm of the giants, the name that Shelvediro gave this realm. There seem to be entities in both places that are being actively monitored. Roshan, you can see that there is, based on scale, imagining the height of the thing being currently tracked. Part of you is like, it must be an exaggeration so that they can look at the map and see it better. And you kind of have to push aside the thought of the smaller things that seem more correctly to scale, that are just a pinprick on the map. And this is like a raised, pushed up piece of silk that is actively moving across this realm. There are a lot of markers in Suppelheim. That one has the most. A lot of them in this area that Shelvedere referred to as the wilds. Many things there. There is one marker that is not. There is one marker that is outside of the wilds in Suppelheim, in one of these areas that he claimed to be civilized. Just one. And glancing over at Shelvedero, that is the one they are actively watching while they are allowing you to walk and move through this space. That is where their focus stays.
Is that what Nyx noticed?
I'd say you both can notice that. You can both have it. Held, you can see the big giant one moving. I think that one is so easy to notice.
Like,
that
look
it's
at
like,
that.
oh, that's big.
That's moving.
I think
Where did it go?
Roshan and Nyx can share a look, and Roshan will use the message cantrip, or no, he can just speak telepathically into her head and say, "Do you think it's safe to ask?"
I can respond to this, right?
You can't respond mentally, but you can shake your head or nod.
Well, she's not gonna respond. She's gonna ask. She's just gonna
Okay.
ask. So, what's that
Oh,
one?
same character.
She'll ask him what it is.
She thinks it's safe, so
Yeah,
she will.
It's safe.
Great.
Question is,
You watch Shelvedere, who doesn't even look at you or acknowledge what you are pointing at, observing at, knows.
Mhm.
And you can see like a tenseness in the jaw on one side of the face. Well, why not? And walks around the silk, eyes trained on that one piece, that one thing, moving ever so slightly. It does not seem to be moving far distances. Sometimes the movements may look strange. There's time dilation in some areas, especially in the wilds, but reaches into their pocket and like drinks something. Looks like another flask, but it looks smaller. My last expedition was to Ruvenheim. I had been training my body. I had been working on my skills to survive in the cold. And of course, I was magically enhancing myself. I had a rune of protection because you can be as used to the elements as one could be. You could be an elemental of ice. If you are from Midgard and you go to Ruvenheim, you are not coming back. Ruvenheim, like Muselheim, I had observed mostly through opening a door and watching for as long as I could, and then letting it close and doing this across the continent. I decided that with this magical intervention that I would take some steps into Ruvenheim. I wanted to get to see these spires. And after training my body and preparing and magically protecting myself, I made my way through. When I travel the realms, especially if I am looking into other realms, I do not use them directly to Midgard. I will go to Suppelheim, and then I will go open doors to other places, as I find it is an easier transition instead of going straight from Midgard to somewhere like Muselheim or Ruvenheim. So I go, and it is it's so cold, so incredibly cold, but I am protected, and even so, it is anyways. I travel for a bit. I try not to go too far. And I just wanted to see these giants up close. They are like mountains. They are living mountains. Giants encased in ice, some many slumbering, some not, some very much awake. There are also a variety of elementals that exist on that plane. And after some time, after I feel like I had acquired some knowledge and was thinking, best safe, I head home while I am still on a high, while I am still succeeding, not allowing myself to be injured and then trying to head home. I begin to make my way back to my tuning fork. And I get into a bit of a scuffle. Little ice elementals, a swarm of them, not too big of a concern in my mind. And I am dealing with them as best be. I did not realize that when you fell them, they explode. Shards of ice. and my ward was destroyed. And so I do what any sane person would, and I run as fast as I can. The cold, it's so strange. Everything got so hot. It was like being on fire. And then I could feel ice in my skin, the spikes stabbing at my nerves, and then I couldn't feel it after that much. And I could see the tuning fork, and they have some wiggle room, just as the silks, and like runs a finger over it, and you watch as it kind of warbles with touch. So, my last chance, I use magic to try and pull it towards me, hoping that it can bend enough to reach me, and I realize I am no longer running forwards, and that I am just reaching. And so I decide that I would rather die staring at the sky in Suppelheim than become a spire in Ruvenheim. So I allow the portal to take me as best it can. And it took some of me, and left some of me to the ice. And magical injuries are strange and terrible. The pain, I couldn't describe it to you, as now I was no longer experiencing the cold. I was experiencing loss. And I could stare up at that sky. And I was content with dying, as many in my profession have. I was very good at what I did, and I lasted quite some time, and I got to lay there and wonder what I would become. Would I be one of those ruby trees, or would I be a garden of flowers? And I was scared for a moment that I would be nothing. But someone found me. An entity of Suppelheim from one of the cities was exploring the wilds and came across me. That's at least what they said. They took me in and began to take care of me, nurse me back to health in the best way that they could. But as you can see, they had quite a lot to contend with, though they could. And they gifted me limbs made from the elements of their realm. And they coddled me, and they cared for me. And I didn't even notice that I was changing. And when I finally did, I became so scared. Because that's what they wanted. I had never been so loved and cared for in my life. I have never been so shown such softness. And it was to change me. I don't know if it was curiosity, see what I become. But I knew it was not love or care for who I was. It was the idea of something new, something equal to them. And I fled. I tried to go back for the fork during a time that they were usually not there. You could hear them the whole time, walking with me behind me, and I had abandoned my limbs because that was part of the change, right? That was something they had given me, and I, in my rashness, said I would rather drag myself. I would rather dig my nails into the dirt and drag myself to the fork. And so I did, and they could have stopped me at any time. They could have easily brought me back. The kindness. The words of overly sweet, twisted endearance. As I dragged myself through the dirt, and they walked alongside me, not bringing me back, not pushing me forward. And then the vitriol of their words. And they let me go. And I'd like to make sure that I don't see that person again. I'm not sure if it is such a cultural difference between the realms, or if there is true disdain for us from them. But they did not want me. No matter how nice it felt. What a fun story that they don't let you put in the library. Is there anything else, dear? You are welcome to observe this as much as you like. There is such immense beauty and knowledge to be obtained from these places. You just must not forget there is balance in that. That something can be so beautiful and caring. It can also be incredibly cruel. I'm going to get us a drink, if that's all right. Good. And Shelvedero makes their way quietly through the room. And that is where we are going to stop for tonight. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate it. We love telling you guys a story. A beautiful
Do we
story for the
ever?
people. If you'd like to see more of that story, you can head over to youtube.com/thedicecult. If you'd like to keep up with us, we are at Backs of Gods on Instagram and Twitter. If you'd like to keep up with all of us, we are at the Dice Cult on Instagram and Twitter. If you want to head over to YouTube, you can also start catching up on Vampire the Masquerade, who's taking a little bit of a break, but that doesn't mean, hey.
It's the opportune time to
All the
catch up
eloquence
on
is gone. I'm done. I used it all
the
up. It's
previous
dead.
shit.
You
You
can
get
head
to
over
catch up on the
YouTube.
previous shit now.
Every Saturday there will be an episode uploaded to YouTube, so you can start catching up on Vampire before we come back and start doing it live. If you're like, hey, Jillian, what dice do you guys roll? Well, everybody can pick up their dice and they put them on the camera. You can go to the box.
You love it.
You can go to the chat and you can follow those and you can get some beautiful dice that are beautiful and tell good story. And that's all we ask for in dice.
It's all we love.
Thank you guys again for being here. We appreciate it. We love telling you guys a story. We will be here same time, same place, Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we will see you guys next time. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for joining us, cultists.